Let's do this. Oh, hello.
Rafi's tips for artists because he loves you.
Hola, you amazing artist, and welcome to the studio. Today, I want to talk to you guys about staying motivated in creating art. As a lot of you guys know, doing this art career thing could really be discouraging and demotivating for the most part. All kinds of roadblocks and issues and critiques and all kinds of fun things that might cause you to not want to move forward. And a lot of times it has to do with your art career, and sometimes it just has to do with life. So I put together a list of the things that both Klee and I think about when we're thinking about moving forward, and share that with you and see if, it gives you some kind of motivation to keep going, because that's ultimately what causes an art career to really flush out is if you persist and you keep going. So the first thing that comes to mind as far as like getting production, producing work for me is to set a goal. And I keep it very simple. My goal is to always have at least 5 or 6 projects going on at once, because I like working on multiple works of art, because I hate waiting for things to dry, first off. And the other thing too, if I ever run into a roadblock, it's really nice to just say, okay, I'm going to leave this for now, and then I go and start working or continue working on something else that is sitting there. Because I do that, I also am very prolific. I like working on more than one thing. If I'm working on a series, there's a lot of things that are similar in them, and instead of getting the materials ready for each and every single one, I get to get the materials ready for all of them. Honestly, you guys, just saying the word goal, I'm like throwing up a little bit in the back of my mouth, because like that's not the way I see it. For me, it's like, all right, so in the studio, I like working on at least 5 or 6 pieces at a time, and I want to produce this much artwork by the end of the year. And a lot of that has to do with my financial goals too, because I know that I have to have a certain amount of artwork if I am planning on selling that much artwork. And I also have to think of like, well, how am I going to get there? How is this going to motivate me and all that stuff? And the thing is that a goal doesn't have to be like a number of work, just something that is active, that you've got something that you're working towards. The second thing that keeps us motivated is making the entire process easy. You want to set up an area in your house, if possible, where your easel is set up, your paints are ready to go, and then you could go there and just fa-chunk it. Even on those days where you're like, I'm not really feeling it, allowing yourself to sit there for 5 minutes. And if you don't know what fa-chunking is just 5 minutes or 15 minutes or 50 minutes where you're like, you know what, I'm just going to work on this. By the end of that time, if I'm like, I don't want to do this, then you just push it off to the next day. You allow yourself to just stop. Chances are, if you get the process started, you're going to stick with it. For a lot of us, it's really the problem that we run into is just getting started. You want to make that entire process easy. If you have to like pull out a bin and then set up an easel, and there are like 15 steps before you could actually sit down and start working, that's a pain in the ass. And a lot of times that adds to that whole like, I don't want to. The third thing that I think is important to keep you going is to surround yourself with inspiration. As you can see, the studio is just very colorful, and there's a lot of things up on the wall and hanging from the ceiling that are inspirational, that will say like, keep going, your art is beautiful, all those kind of things, right? There's stuff with words. There's also little keepsakes from our career over the years, like signs that I created at the flea market when we first got started and things like that. I wouldn't have blank walls in my studio, because that's not inspirational for me. I like being surrounded by creative chaos. So I think when you're thinking about your creative space, you should really think about what it is that inspires you and make sure that that's in that creative space. The other side of this is making sure that you surround yourself with creative people that believe in you, people that are going to push you forward even when you are maybe not feeling it at that moment. A lot of us don't have friends that are artists, and they have different priorities. They're like, hey, I want to go out and have a beer or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that. But like, you are saying like, well, I can't go because I want to work in my studio. For a lot of people, they don't understand that. They don't understand how important and how much of a priority artwork is. It's always important to try and find, whether it's online or offline, try and find a community of people that you can really, really relate to. And that way, when you want to have those conversations that not a lot of people will understand, you've got a group of people or a person or anybody that is going to support you and understand what you're going through. The fourth thing is write it down or sketch it. So a lot of us are going to get inspired by just about anything that you see. It could be a color palette that you see, lighting, a certain subject matter or something like that. You might see something, might have a conversation with somebody that inspires a work of art. In those situations, you want to be able to have a way to write it down, record it, right? So whether it's on your phone or if you have a sketchbook, I prefer to have like a small sketchbook with me where I will write down ideas. I try to take that with me everywhere, and it's great because if I'm ever having one of those days where I'm like, I'm not really sure what I'm going to work on or whatever, it's nice to be able to open up my sketchbook and get in there. I have more than enough ideas to last me a lifetime. I will probably never get everything that I want to get done in my lifetime, and that's okay because, we never get it done anyway. The other thing that I think about is because a lot of times what you run into that is really, really demotivating is perfectionism. Running into perfectionism. Like you start working on something and it's not coming out perfect and you're thinking about, people are going to think this is stupid or, whatever it is that is causing you to run into that perfectionism. It's important to leave perfectionism out of this studio. Just leave it out of the studio, especially when I'm overthinking something, right? Because there's that flow state that comes from here, that you're in that place where you're not even thinking about anything and you're just in that flow of creating, right? It's you and your work of art, and it's this beautiful relationship and collaboration between you and the materials or whatever it is that you're using. You're in your head and you're overthinking it and you're just making everything a struggle. A lot of times when I find myself running into that, I will allow myself to create what I call a shiny turd. Like basically you just get into studio and just decide, you know what? I don't care if this thing looks good or if it looks horrible, as long as I am building up that momentum and creating something, anything, right? Because if you get stuck in that place where you're just overthinking things and you're not actually taking action, the momentum just dies. You want to do whatever it takes to get that buildup, that creativity buildup back up. And so allow yourself to create a shiny turd. So in that same vein, the other thing that I allow myself to do in the studio that really motivates me to keep going is experimentation. When you're doing this for a long time, and especially if you get really, really good at a certain technique or a medium or something like that, it's easy to just kind of get bored, right? Because a lot of people tend to just jump on the thing that they're really good at and just do that thing, and they don't push outside of that comfort zone. Pushing outside of that comfort zone and moving in a different direction and doing something adds life to your art career. It really does. It adds that excitement of doing something that you don't know, that you could get wrong. Everybody thinks I want to just know how to do this and I want it to be perfect all the time. And the fact of the matter is, the excitement comes from figuring something out and really getting it wrong and failing miserably a bunch of times until you finally get it. And that's so cool. The other thing that I think about is it's not always go, go, go. Right? It's not always go, go, go. I'm not going to be in the studio 100% of the time, always working on art. If you ever run into an actual artist, like a working artist, you will find that they spend a lot of time in their studio, but they don't live in their studio. Well, technically we live in our studio, I guess, but you know what I mean. You're not going to be working on art 100% of the time. There are going to be moments where you're like, you know what, this is good enough for today. And then you walk away and you want to take that me time. You want to be able to take a break from all of it. Now, sometimes we use our art and the studio to take a break from life stuff, and that's great. But understand that you can burn out. You could push it a little bit too far. So you want to make sure that you allow yourself that time to just kind of relax and do nothing. And finally, the thing that I focus on most when it comes to keeping myself motivated in my art is that I allow myself to remember why it is that I create art in the first place. When you get started with this thing and you decide that I'm going to make this into an art career, right? I want to support myself with my art. I want to make money with my art. What ends up happening is that your focus switches from why you create art to I create art for money, right? And for a lot of us, it just sneaks in there. You don't even think about it. It makes everything much more complicated because then your motivation switches from I create because I create to I create because I want to make money. And I know that there are some of you out there that have commented on my videos in the past, well, I create art to make money, like I want to make money, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, good. How's that working out for you? Because money is a horrible motivator. Money is a great motivator when you're making money. Even then, it needs to keep growing, because if it's not growing, you're just making the same old, then it loses its excitement to motivate you. When it comes to art, in getting started in a career, and you're going out and you're doing a festival and you haven't sold anything, and 2 months have gone by and you haven't sold anything, guess what? Money is not going to motivate you. Money is going to demotivate you, because immediately you're going to be like, why am I even doing this if I'm not making any money? Now, the thing to remember is that that's not why you started creating art in the first place. You have a voice. That's another one of those things. Somebody commented, you have a voice. What does that even mean? And I'm like, you have a voice. This is a way of expressing yourself. You are putting it out there in the world because you want to express who you are and see which people out there relate with you. And little by little, while you're building your career, then eventually those collectors start coming in, because you, by putting yourself out there, by creating work for the right reasons, right? And you keep creating work and you keep creating work and you keep creating it. Another comment that I've heard is, what do I do with the art that doesn't sell? And I'm like, it's not milk, you guys. It's not going to go bad. Money is not the thing that is going to declare you an artist, right? What declares you an artist is the creation of the work. The only reason that I've been able to persist over the years is because I see money as a side effect of persistence. The only things that I think about that are going to motivate me to move forward is the things that are going to cause me to persist. And as I said before, maybe it's different for other people, but for me, money is not a great motivator, because money is a roller coaster. What motivates me is that I get to create the work, that I get to express myself with what I do and put out there. Whether it's artwork or books or music or whatever it is that I'm sharing, I get to put it out there. It's a little piece of me that lives off in the universe now. And that excites me. That motivates me. That's I could keep going. And that's pretty much it. Those are the things that motivate me. Other than that, it's like share my work openly. Like I share things because I want to keep a record for myself. And so I'm motivated to just put as much stuff out into the world as I possibly can. Really, that's one of my goals. I spent the majority of my life working for other people in corporate and not really sharing anything with the world that was me, that was mine, my own creation. And now I'm like, I'm going to do it with everything. Whatever I could create and put out there, I'm going to create and put out there, because, Rafi was here and you're here. So create, put it out there. That motivates me. It motivates me to share my work and put it out there. I'm sure that there's more things that motivate me, but those are the ones that I could think of for this video. And yeah, so I'm curious to know what things motivate you to keep going, even in the face of adversity and all that stuff. Go ahead and leave that in the comment section below. And thank you so much for watching, you guys. You guys are absolutely amazing. And if you've never watched our videos before and you like this, go ahead and click right over here to subscribe. And that's it. I will talk to you later. Adios.